Hello. Hi, Tyler. This is Tyler.
Hi.
We're going to talk about music, because we're both music men. So, you like jazz music.
Heck yeah, I like jazz music.
How about to play?
To play, yes, I love playing
Okay.
jazz. Like, by far, it is my favorite.
Jazz is really interesting because jazz originated in America.
I think jazz originated from blues for the fact, you know what I mean? Like, you had to have to put heart and soul into your music, and it was just, I don't know, I really find jazz pretty.
Yeah, that's an interesting point because, like, I feel like jazz kind of initiated the whole modern era of music. I feel like 1800s was like, it's such a changing period. I feel like all the music that we get from that time is probably European or German. Well, I mean, European.
Yeah,
European in general. A little bit of Russian too. I like some of the Russian stuff.
I really like where, you know, the age... a lot of really good music has come out of war, honestly. Like, I like how... I mean, I'm a really big, like, early 60s to late 70s guy. I really like what came out of the Vietnam War.
Oh, yeah.
The, like Rolling Stones and, like...
Oh, yeah.
All the... You know what I mean? Like,
there's a lot of good stuff like that.
Like CCR, I think. Did a pretty good amount of stuff with that. And just... I don't know. That's what... I hate to say it, but war has brought out some of the best music that I've ever heard.
It's because music is...
It's emotional.
Yeah, music is direct emotion. It's like I mean, it's an art. Like, of course, it has expression and art, emotion. But, like, there's something about music that can connect to people because it's a direct correlation of their emotions. Yeah.
Like, you can feel... in some pieces of music, you can feel it's more of like an extension of somebody's mind and emotions than anything else. And you can, you know, if you can grasp onto that for a second and get into the piece, you know what I mean? Like, you can feel what that person was feeling and feel like a correlation with them, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think no matter what, music will always be our biggest connection with anything because the fact that music is a universal language.
Yeah, that's a good point. But, like, I mean, like, I feel like that argument is also kind of, it's like, that could be said for art, that could be said for music, that could be said for literature. But I think what music maybe what makes music, like, such a big thing is that we talk. Like, that's how we communicate. We talk to people. And so that's using our auditory senses, and that's also what we use for music. So maybe that has a correlation.
If I listen to a piece, you know, enough, like, I get, like, ideas on, like, what to do where. Like, if I'm playing the piece and, like, there's something, you know, I'm not gonna, like, mess with it. But I mean, if there was, like, a forte piano somewhere that, you know, sounded really good, you know what I mean?
And it's interesting because, you know, music is something where, like, in art, you don't look at a painting and say, I want to paint that. Like,
I want to paint that differently.
Like, yeah, you listen to a music and you're like, I want to learn how to play that. So I think that's interesting because, like, no other art is like that, where it's like,
literature kind of is.
But it's not the same thing. Like, if
I
listen to whatever, I'm like, I want to learn how to play that. It's the same song, but then you can, like...
You can tweak it as much as you want.
There's like, that little bit of expression that you can even put into, like, covers.
That's the one thing that I've looked, like... With studying Baroque Era recently, like, I've seen... Like, even, like, the piece that I'm doing for my recital sooner or later, I think it's sometime in April, but I was looking at it, and, like, my professor was showing me, they have music. Like, they have but they had his original, like, score inside of it, and then, like, showing what it could be turned into. Like, it was just, you know what I mean? Like, he gave, like, a bass line, and you were supposed to add on to that and make, like, all these little changes, you know, to yourself, and it was, like, so it was special to every performance that anybody did, you know what I mean? Like, it's cool. Your performance. You can change it and make it the way you want it to sound. So it's more of, like, I feel like with older music like that and, like, band and stuff, you have more area to express yourself, and I think that's really honestly where a lot of great music stem from, because, I mean, whenever you're given the chance to, like, express yourself through music, it's just, I don't know, crazy what stuff can do.
But something I've thought about is like, with limitation can come like ideas and like expression in this case, because it's like when you have that limitation of you're playing this song that's already made, there's like a lot of different things you can come about it. It's kind of like art. You have a blank canvas where, you know, you can do anything. Like it's
your choice.
It's literally like you have infinite possibilities. Like it's pretty much infinite, as close as we can to infinite. The thing about music is, like, sure, you can make a song, but you have this structure that you have to
follow a structure, and it has to rhyme, and it has to. That's really pretty.
It's really it's interesting because that kind of correlates to music. In that way can correlate to poetry, like how you said it can rhyme. Like music can rhyme musically, not just like in your lyrics, but like, so that it kind of correlates music to poetry, and then
back to literature.
It can to literature, and then it can, like, how can it relate to art though?
Like if you look at a score, like you can tell that's a piece of art just sitting there.
That's a good point.
But you can't, you know what I mean? You can't like you can't look at a piece of art and explain it unless, you know, there's something visually to see. And like with music, there's nothing to visually see until you see the pages start going. And like whenever you start hearing the notes, you got to start hearing it in your head and everything. So it's more of an auditory thing for music, I think. And
it can kind of be like music. I mean, for me, I know music always creates an image kind of in my head.
Yeah, I feel that too. It's just the fact that, you know what I mean? You can't visualize, you know, you can visualize music, but you can't see music.
That's a good point. Well, you can't hear art either, so that's kind of how it...
I can hear art. Just imagine. Well, I mean, if it's like an emotional piece, if it was like, you know, like a world piece, like a drawing from like the Civil War or something, you know, and you like saw emotion and bloodshed, like I'm pretty sure you can imagine what that sounded like.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So, you know, you can see, you can visualize and see almost anything.
So the correlation's kind of in the imagery, because you can
image it, you can imagine anything.
Yeah, because I mean, like, you can listen to a piece of music and you can visualize something, and it's kind of up to your interpretation. And you can look at a piece of art and hear something, but that's still up to interpretation as well. So that's interesting.
Well, all art is really just a basic interpretation of each other.
That's true. Well, but the thing is, that's kind of, with music and art, you can make it more up to interpretation, like depending on how ambiguous you are about something. Like you can have abstract art and still see something out of it. And it can, like, everybody can kind of see something different, or you can have like a beautiful, you know, constructed piece of like Civil War art, and everybody knows what that is, but they can still interpret things from it, you know, like it could be symbolic or it can be, you know, metaphoric or whatever.
Because you can mix any of them. Like you can mix music and literature because there's lyrics, and then you can mix music and art because, like, I mean, shoot, you can draw.
You can draw your visual interpretation.
You can draw, your visual encounters. Like, and you can say, this is the piece I listened to, and this is what came out of my head.
That's an interesting point.